All right, do the share screen again, and we are going to share this. All right, there we go. So I think y'all should be able to see me now, and we should have the presentation in full mode. So again, thank you for joining Real Talk with Zandra. Extremely excited about the content this evening. I'm actually coming to you from Sacramento, California. I just finished a women's conference called Clarity that was at the hotel in downtown Sacramento. So it was really great. Was able to touch a lot of people and just real excited about the power of positive possibility and potential that not only lives within inside of me, but lives within inside of you as well. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to tell you that we're doing exit strategy by popular demand. Do you have an exit strategy was asked to come back again. And so I've created a little more in-depth content around exit strategy. So I'm very excited that you all are with me this evening. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, what we're going to do is you'll be able to ask questions. You can ask questions periodically, or if you would like to wait until the end, we'll have Q&As at that time. So you can either keep all your question sets going at that time, and I'll answer them at the end, or you can answer them periodically. I'll try to monitor to make sure that I am seeing your questions as they come up. There also will be a couple of polls tonight. And so I'll be asking you some polling questions, and I would like you to weigh in and answer. And I'll give you about 30 to 40 seconds to do that every time there is a poll question. So again, thank you for joining Real Talk with Zandra, and let's jump right in. So let's talk about, what is your exit strategy, or better yet, do you have one? And what I find is that people, are living their lives and think everything is really permanent. But I'm here to tell you tonight that there's no such thing as permanent. We'll talk about jobs in your career and how we get so enthralled with what we're doing that we really don't read what I call the tea leaves and be able to understand, do I really need an exit strategy? It's important to think about pulling together an exit strategy when things are going well, so that you have more opportunity and possibilities available to you. When we're under pressure, it's very hard to be able to think about what can I do in order to rectify this. So let's look at a couple of areas of potential potential areas where you may need an exit strategy. So you think about your job and career, and remember how I talked about there's absolutely nothing permanent. Everything is temporary, and nothing lasts forever. And then you may have relationships, whether it be friendships or your significant other relationships that may need some type of strategy in place. And then you have aging parents, and we're finding today that the millennials are having to take care of their aging parents that are not really that old. People are getting Alzheimer's earlier and earlier every single year. And so you think about, aging parents, and what do I do in order to keep balance with my job and career, and at the same time, be able to have a life. And then we have folks that may be feeling some empty nest syndrome, like I really didn't think about when my kids graduate from high school and maybe leave the state and go off to college. What do I do with my life now? You might be feeling that way. I can tell you that when my children started to leave the home, I felt that way, like, okay, it's just me now. What do you do with just you? And then, of course, there may be some financial struggles where you're just feeling as though, that there's nothing other than bill after bill after bill, and that you're, not able to maybe meet the demand. And then the last but not least, and these are not all encompassing, by the way, your business might not be thriving and you need help, or you may need to reshift your business. All of these things probably cause you a great deal of worry and stress. And so the woman in the middle, can you just imagine, I'm just worried and stressed. over my job and my career, my potential relationships, or better yet, my aging parents, and how do I take care of them and what do I do? So again, all of these areas are potential areas for exit strategies. It's not all encompassing, but here's what I want to do tonight, because I would be here like for hours trying to go through each one of these. For sure, I'm going to send you a worksheet that's going to help you walk through, develop an exit strategy. Once you have the courage to really do the assessment, the internal assessment, the assessment about you, what kind of exit strategy do you need? So for the sake of time, let's move forward. And I want to talk to you just about what, a couple of things. We don't see that there may be an emergency surgery of a family member that causes us to become a caregiver. Or, we have our jobs and we think things are going well, and then something goes awry. And so, life in its totality, is really about circumstance and choice. You always have a choice, but here's the thing. Do you have the courage to do an analysis of your current situation? Look at that circumstance and decide, is this really the life that I want to live? And if it isn't, do I have what it takes in order to develop the appropriate exit strategy in order to maneuver my life and get it on track to where you really want it? So I'll tell you this. Life will serve you when you least expect it. And so, again, if you just think about life being nothing but a whole series of circumstances, and that every time life serves you a circumstance, you have a choice to make. And then that choice becomes your decision. But here's what I'd like to tell you tonight is, you can't forecast what really is going to happen to you. You really don't control the universe. But you can plan your response. Now, what do I really mean by that? It's being able to take a minute and say, you know what, let me look at every aspect of my life. How is my job? How is my relationship? Is it what it should be? Sometimes we are willing to not even notice some of the warning signs. We'll act like we don't see it, because if we act like we don't see it, we don't have to deal with it. But what I want to do is challenge you tonight to start thinking about your life. What is it that you might need to change? Do you have the courage to do the work? Analyze yourself, analyze your life, and decide, here's where I need to start looking at developing the appropriate exit strategy. So here we go. If anybody knows anything about Bewitched, it used to be one of my favorite shows back in the 60s. And so I'm wondering, how many of us actually feel like something is lurking around the corner? We can't really see it because, there's a part of the window is blocking our view, but we really can't see it. But we're continuously looking out the window and wondering, is there something lurking in the background? Is there something there that might come out to bite me? And so what I'd like to do is to lodge a poll tonight to see what you all think. So I'm going to try to call up a poll. And the first poll is about lurking. And so do you feel that something is lurking around the corner that makes you uneasy or anxious? So I'm going to launch the poll and give you all about 30 seconds to answer that question. Do you feel that something is lurking around the corner that makes you uneasy or either anxious? Okay, I'm going to give you all a few more seconds and then I will post the results. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results. So if we look at that question, 50% of the folks said yes, and about 25% said no, and And then another 25% says sometimes. Well, listen, if you said, yes, or even sometimes, then I would challenge you this evening to think about, do I need to create an exit strategy in my life? It could be around your finances. It could be, around a relationship. But let's take a closer look just at job and career. And I'm also going to look at relationship. We'll take those two just for the sake of this evening so that we could just kind of get a feel for it. So what if you are the woman and everybody in the background sitting at the table, but you have been reading the tea leaves on your job, and the thing that you knew is, it seems like I'm not as included in the team meetings, or I'm left off of invites for the meetings. And so while you feel like that doesn't seem quite right, what if the action was that you got placed on some corrective action, or that you were demoted or terminated from your job? Or how about when there's a layoff? What do? See, what happens is we become reactive. And when we're reactive, that means that we're living in this thing called catabolic energy. Catabolic energy is where stress, fear, doubt, and worry resides. Do you want to live your life in stress, doubt, fear, and worry? Instead, when things are going good on that job, you should be defining, what is it that I need to do if something like me getting demoted or terminated or laid off? What if that happened? What will I do? Prepare yourself while you're still being paid at a job. Prepare your exit strategy so that if something does happen in that job, then you can take out your exit strategy, dust it off, and put it into action. But when you're under pressure, I guarantee you, you won't dot every I, you won't dot every T, and you'll end up actually creating a strategy that might not be to your best benefit. So the intent of this tonight is just to tell you that you can prepare for your destiny. And this is all about preparation. Ladies, if you're on the phone, you know what? We take care of everybody else, but we don't take care of ourselves. And so the intent of this tonight is to give you some time to think about your life and figure out what it is you need to do differently. So now let's go to the next side. What if, the happily married couple that you once were, what if, that once beautiful relationship seems to be going a little bit south? Or, you keep asking yourself, can this really be real? Like, is this really happening to us? Or maybe when and how did this happen? Because I think what we do is we end up just living life from day to day, not really paying attention to warning signs, not really reading the tea leaves. I talk about the tea leaves a lot because me and my daughter talk about it quite often. One of the things that my daughter will say is, not only do you need to read the tea leaves, Mommy, but you have to eat them too. So I'm telling you that it's not only reading the tea leaves in your life, but really eating them and digesting them and figuring out, what is it I need to do? I know that sounds funny, it might sound crazy, but at the end of the day, I feel as though people live their life. There's signs and warnings, and what we don't do is we don't heed to it. Then when life serves us the circumstance, then and only then we're devastated, catabolic energy. We can't gather ourselves, catabolic energy. We're afraid about what's going to happen with our future, catabolic energy. We live in that energy. And so the point of this tonight is, I want to encourage you to just take the courage to analyze your life, not someone else's, not what other people do. I'm talking to you tonight. Analyze your own life and figure out where you need a strategy. But here's the thing, it's not just about having a strategy, but more importantly, when to execute the strategy. You could have a strategy all day long, but if you don't know when to execute it, what's going to happen? You'll get caught off guard. And that's what happens to us every single day. We're caught off guard by circumstances. The thing is, life circumstances are going to happen either way. One of the things that I want to leave you with is that, listen, life circumstances don't define you. They actually just create depth in your character. And so know that those circumstances don't really say this is who you are. But if you're ready, if you have a strategy in place, you can manage through those transitions in life. So remember, we talked about all of these. We just covered job, career, and relationship. That's only 2 types of potential areas that you would need an exit strategy. I want to challenge you today. Looking at just, those 6 boxes that I'm sharing with you on my screen. Does any of those resonate with you? Like maybe your business isn't thriving and you really do need help. One of the things that I like to tell people is that if you need help, doesn't mean, if you need help, that's one thing. But if you seek help is another. But because you seek help doesn't mean that you're sick. It means that you are accessing your courage to get the resources that you need in order to live a celebrated life. So do you have the courage today to do an analysis and figure out really where is it that I need an appropriate strategy? And again, I'm going to send you a worksheet that's going to help you walk through this for yourself. And if you have any questions, you can always reach me at coachsandra.com. So I want to ask you about needing an exit strategy. I'd like to do another poll if we could. So let me go to the next poll. And it is going to be looking at your life right now while you're on this webinar. Do you need an exit strategy? So I'm going to launch that poll and I'm going to give you about 35 or 40 seconds to answer on the poll. So the question is, based on your life today and what you know about your life, do you need an exit strategy? Okay, I'm going to give you a couple more seconds. All right. All right, I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results. Well, guess what? 50% of y'all feel like you need an exit strategy. 33% feel like you maybe need one. And I have someone that says that they don't need an exit strategy. That is super awesome. Whoever that is, I'm very proud of you that your life is going well. But I want you to always think about, just because things are going well and I might not need one today, I might need one in the future. Okay, so thank you so much for participating in the poll. Let's go now to, what should you consider? What kind of things should you consider when you're thinking about a strategy? Now, we're talking about an exit strategy, but I really want you to think about, it could be any type of strategy. It does not necessarily have to be an exit strategy. You may be, and I'm going to give this as an example, getting ready to add to your family. You don't need an exit strategy, but you do need a strategy by which to manage your life differently. If you're adding to your family, what am I going to do? How will I, manage resources? How will I manage maybe more than one child? All of your life needs a strategy. And so just having the courage to be able to address that up front just helps to relieve stress from you. I believe that we're stressed by everyday living. And then when it happens, then we go, okay, I got to do something. This is what I'm going to do. But that's a stressful response. So I just really encourage you to stop stressing and to really have a strategy in place. It doesn't necessarily have to be an exit strategy. It could just be a strategy for your life. So when you think about, what to consider as you're developing a strategy, it's very vital that everyone has some type of exit strategy or strategy for every compartment of your life. Look at health and aging. If your parents are still living and they're getting older, you might want to think about, what would I do if my parents, fell sick, that they couldn't care for themselves? You might want to, think about that. Like, what would I do? How would I balance my family, my job, and my aging parents' needs at the same time? Because what you'll find is that when things happen in life, being reactive, something's going to give. You're not going to pay attention to something. And then over a long period of time, what happens is that becomes, an area of dissatisfaction. And then how do you fix that? And over time, that's hard. What it will do is it'll rob you from your courage and your tenacity to, persevere. So think about that. Now, when you are working a job, know that you are not in control of your destiny. It would be nice if we really thought we did. Remember, I told you, no job is permanent. Everything in life actually is temporary, not just a job. But when you're working a job, that's the appropriate time to actually develop, a strategy for your life. And then, be able to conduct that personal assessment. I think that is most important. We as women don't spend time with ourselves figuring out what is it that we need to do differently in life. And so I'm just challenging you tonight to actually do a personal assessment and figure out where is it that you need a strategy in your life. And listen, if I could say nothing more, it is that it's so important that we become intentional about our life. We have to be deliberate. And so what does that really mean? That means that I need to spend time with myself, quality time with myself, figuring out what is it that I need to accomplish in my life? What is it that I need to do? Oftentimes we are taking care of everybody else to the point that we spend no quality time with ourselves, figuring out what is the thing that I need to do in order to make sure that I'm living a successful life. Now, like I said, life circumstances, we don't control the universe, but I do believe that we can control our responses to the things that happen to us. So this is about controlling our response. So one might ask, why is this important? So let's talk about the top 5 reasons this is important. You don't want to be caught by surprise with anything. And so being able to do an assessment is important. I would like to see everyone stop focusing only on the now versus planning for the unforeseen circumstances. I think life situations really are very temporary. So, don't be bound just by the circumstance. And then at the end of it, you'll be doing I wish I had a done. I wish I would have did this. We always have regrets. I don't want you to have any regrets. And so the way that you can minimize the number of regrets is by being able to sit down with yourself, figure out what it is you need to do differently, and then do it. Don't ignore the warning signs because of fear. We are afraid and we push down every single day fear and trepidation and worry and doubt and stress. We do that every day. I'm challenging you this evening to confront your life head on and figure out what it is you need to do. Exit strategies or just a strategy is required so that you proactively consider your options. I want to let you know that when things are going well is the best time to consider your strategies because you have more options available to you when you're not stressed and under pressure. But if you wait till you're stressed and under pressure, you're probably going to lose your edges. You're probably going to get more gray than you want to. You're not going to be able to do the best job. So I'm telling you today, if your life is going fairly decent, consider just take an inventory of your own life and figure out what is it I need to do differently. And then go ahead and, have the courage and start building the plan. And guess what? I'm going to give you the tool in order to do that. So let's talk about why developing an exit strategy makes really good sense. I talked about the tea leaves early on, and I just want to talk about them one more time. Read the tea leaves, y'all. We as women are good at reading the tea leaves. I don't care what anybody says, we're good readers of tea leaves. We can look at it and go like, I feel a certain way. Our intuition is strong. And so don't only read the tea leaves, but I want you to do something about it. Like act on it. Don't wait till you're terminated from a job or laid off from a job, or when your relationship is totally gone south, and maybe, your finances have you such in a rut that you just can't continue. Don't wait until that point. Go ahead and do something about it today. Having a planned approach to managing your unique life situation and circumstances is quite important as well. Whatever your strategy is, it's probably not going to be like your girlfriends or like your family members. It's always going to be different because why? We're individuals and we're all different. And how our life is kind of forming and shaping, it's individual. But an exit strategy is really what I consider to be a contingency plan, just in case something goes awry. So that's why when things are going well, go ahead and see, where do I think I might need a little bit of alignment. Most successful exit strategies actually evolve over time. And so what do I mean by that? It doesn't just like you're going to put it together today and I'm done. No, it's going to evolve over time based on what you're doing. Even if it's just a strategy for your life and it's not an exit, it's going to evolve over time. And so what I want you to know is being a little bit fluid is good. See, when we are so rigid that we can't do anything but what we have always done, then we find ourselves that when something goes, maybe not exactly the way we wanted to, that we're so rigid in our thinking that we can't kind of shift and move and flow. You got to be able to shift, move, and flow. But the way you do that gracefully is because you think about it in advance and you make something happen. Your number one priority is really to formulate a plan that will protect you. This is all about you and your journey and your destiny. This has nothing to do with anybody else but you. You know where you need a plan, and wherever that is, you put that together. Not necessarily an exit, just a strategy. Live your life with a strategy and plan, and it will minimize the amount of stress that you have in your life. Okay, I think I got a question, so I'm going to pause for a minute and answer the question. The question on the table is, what if our exit strategy is our passion? Meaning, the only time I think of an exit strategy is in case I lose my job, but it is a dream. Okay, I think what you're saying is that if you are passionate about something, I'm hoping I'm answering this right. You might need to go back and reiterate the question a little bit differently. But if your exit strategy is your passion, meaning I'm on a job and I'm doing something. So I'm going to use myself. I was on a job. I was the leader of sales, and I love sales, and that was a great thing. But another portion of my job was coaching the employees on the job. Now, coaching the employees on the job is much more satisfying to me. So yes, what I did is I created an exit strategy for my job so that I could become a certified professional life leadership and transition coach and coach people, because that's what brings me unspeakable joy. So yes, you could be doing something on your job today and decide that's my passion. That is what I want to do. But if you want to really do this for yourself and have a business, why not create you an exit strategy while you're being paid by your employer? That makes good sense to me. And then that way, when you're ready to put it into action, you put it into action. I hope that answered your question. If not, just send me another question and I'll see if I can take another swing at it. All right, we're going to continue. And if there's another question, let me know. I can see it in the box. Just let me know. So let me tell you what the steps really are, to developing a strategy. And I'm not even going to call it an exit strategy. This is pretty global as to developing a strategy. You define the desired outcome. So whatever the desired outcome is that you want to have happen, like if it is, I want to start a life coaching business, that's a desired outcome. I want a thriving life coaching business with X amount of clients. Then you have to figure out, well, then what skills, knowledge, and support would I need in order to make that outcome come to reality? And so I think about it. If I use myself being a life coach, I went and got certified as a life coach while I was still employed by my employer. That's investing in you. There's power in investing in yourself. And so I went and got the knowledge that I needed and the skills that I needed. And guess what? I also received the support that I needed because my company allowed me to get the education that I needed in order to execute my exit strategy. Okay? So then you need sufficient time to execute the plan. Now, the reason why I say that is because, I don't want anyone to cut off their nose to spite their face. That's an old saying. Like, you don't want to have to be forced to move quickly due to unforeseen circumstances or things that you weren't willing to even address when you read the tea leaves. You even probably chewed a couple of tea leaves, but you didn't have the courage to actually do anything about it. And then life happens, and then you have to move quickly. So I'm trying to say, have sufficient time to execute that plan. So if you're thinking about, I'm going to, start my own business, make sure you've got enough runway so that you can really execute the plan flawlessly. You have to write it and make it plain, even, with a vision. And I'm going to be doing a vision session actually in Tucson in the month of April. But you have to write it down and make it plain. And oftentimes, ladies, what we do is we keep it all in our head. And then all of that chatter, it creates chatter for us. And so I want to minimize the amount of chatter in your mind so that you take the time, write it down, make it plain so you know what your plan is. And listen, you can't be afraid. You don't want to be a scaredy cat. You can't be one. You can't be afraid. Get out there, get the plan together, and listen. It may not be perfect the first out the chute, but you can modify that plan along the way in order for it to be exactly what you want it to be. You have the power and positive potential inside of you to make your life what you would have it to be. It doesn't mean that it'll be perfect. And it doesn't mean that it won't be absence from circumstance. But if you think about it in advance, you'll be much more prepared to deal with it. And then I highly suggest that you meet with your trusted advisor or coach, like myself, to be your thought partner. You need a thought partner in this sometimes. Because sometimes we think about it over and over and over again in our minds to the point that we're riddled with, chatter, fear, frustration, anxiety. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's good when you can have a trusted advisor or a coach that you can sit down and really talk this through. So if you need that, listen, like I said earlier, just because you need help doesn't mean you're sick, but if you access help, it means that you have the courage to do something about it. So I'm excited for y'all. I'm excited for me because I work on my exit strategies and my strategies on a regular basis. So with that, we're kind of towards the end. I've got a couple of more slides, but I wanted to take a little bit of a break and see if there are any questions, additional questions. So I'll give y'all a few moments to weigh in on your questions. Any more questions? And hopefully I answered the previous question good enough that it was able to answer your question. All right. All right, questions. All right, if there are no questions, we are moving on. I got my glasses on. Oh, I see a question. Is an exit strategy living in catabolic energy? No. Okay, so let's talk about that. Catabolic energy is where fear resides. So if you think about it, there's two types of energy. I'm going to introduce a new concept tonight because someone asked me about it. One is called catabolic energy, and the other is called anabolic energy. Catabolic energy is where fear, stress, doubt, and worry lives. And guess what? We all have catabolic energy inside of us. So do not think that, oh, I have fear and stress and worry, so I'm the only one with catabolic energy. No. You know, about 95% of the world lives in catabolic energy every single day. But anabolic energy is where opportunity resides. Anabolic energy is where you actually do a reconciliation of your life. So what I'm asking you to do now is to reconcile your life. Look at your life and be able to say, look at it, compartmentalize it, health and aging, my own health.